Hello, welcome to the CDCFDA, the Center for Disease Consideration from Different Angles. It's Tuesday night. It's 7 p.m. We do this every Tuesday at 7 p.m. We are considering diseases from different angles. Tonight we have a special guest, Dr.Marizelle. We are thrilled to have her on, a naturopath, and she'll tell us much more about how she helps people heal, her philosophies on healing, health, and maybe a little biology and science. And now, as you know, we start off with Doc Smith and a Qigong flow.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Discernment. And I love to see you opening up your lung meridian like that. We can all take a nice breath into the nose, silently into the nose, expanding in all directions from the belly there as we open, taking our thumb, opening it up to the sun like this. And breathe out through the mouth, shaking it out. Now I'm going to put my head down like this and do a breath like this. I'm going to breathe into my nose and out of the mouth. Shaking out my shoulders, my elbows, my wrists. We'll take a couple more just like that, feeling the power of the horse breath as we silently inhale into the nose always. And then like a horse. Stick our tongue out. Feel our full range of motion. Even if we're just sitting down, we can still relax our shoulders. We can open our shoulders like this rather than having them closed in like this a lot, as we do when we're typing and so forth, driving. We have a practice of opening it up, shaking it out like a dog shaking off water. So let's actually do that just for a minute here together. We can, if you want, you can stand up. If you're just sitting down, you can shake off like a dog shaking off water. If you're standing up, it might look even like this.
Love it.
Letting every drop of air go out before I inhale. And then whether we're standing or seated, whether we use our hands for this motion or not, we can pull down the heavens here. We can feel the energy of the earth coming up into our palms. Turn the hands up and receive the energy of the sky. Do that a couple more times, pulling down the heavens. I'm going to breathe into the nose as we receive that energy from the earth into the palms. Turn the hands up, receive it from Father Sky. And then out of the mouth. One more time. Okay, and whether we're standing or whether we're seated, we'll take a moment here and feel this expansive space here in the center of the sky and the earth. Forget everything about what we think we are and all that, and feel the expansion of the crown of our head up to the sky. And as we breathe out, you can feel like there's a string pulling it up to the heavens. One more time. Feel the crown of the head go up to the heavens. All right, and now feel the feet on the earth. Wherever we are right here, let's just take one moment. We're going to go through all of our joints. We'll see if we can do it in 1 minute here. Let's take both hands to the back of the head here, relaxing our shoulders. Interlace our fingers behind our head if we'd like. Breathe into the belly. With the breath out, I'm going to press both ways. So I'm pressing with my hands forward and with my head backward. And out of the mouth. Doesn't have to be pressing hard. And do 2 more breaths. And after that 3rd breath, relax the arms down. Send the head back. And come back up to the center. The breath into the nose. On the breath out, take the left hand up over to the right ear. Like this. And extend the crown of the head up and over. As we breathe out. Stretching this side of the neck here. My breath out, I send my ear up to the heavens. Feeling both feet rooted into the earth. About 3 breaths out right here. Relaxing my shoulder, both shoulders. After 3 breaths, I take my right arm now, right hand up to the sky, breath in, and then coming down, wiping, sweeping my ear, pulling any energy out of the shoulder here. Letting it go down to the earth. Shaking like a dog. Okay, we're going to come up now to the other side. Take a breath in the center. This might take more than 1 minute, but we have more than 1 minute, right?
You keep flowing.
Reach our left hand, our right hand up now. And cup the left ear with the breath out. Stretch that left side of the neck, relaxing the shoulder. Feeling the weight of this hand, the gravity weighing down my head here. And with my breath out, I feel my ear go up to the heavens. I can move my hand on my head if I need to, if I feel that there's a better place for it to be, to stretch. Relaxing my shoulders. And then after a few breaths, I take the left hand back up. Breath in. Now wipe and sweep down the head here, down the side body of the neck. Pull it out the shoulder. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Had some driving today. That feels good. Yeah. Okay, so we did a little neck and shoulders there. Let's do just a little more shoulders. 3 or 4 circles to the front. Let's do twice as many to the back. Big open to the back. Purging breath throughout this whole series of opening. Okay, that's shoulders. That felt good for me. We'll just do some elbows and wrists here together. Open them up however we feel. With wrists and fingers, I like to take and go whoosh, 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 whoosh. Like that right there. That helps me. My fingers. Every single little joint needs movement, light. Okay. So we've just opened up all these gates here. We've got the hips. If we're seated, that's okay. Maybe if we can stand up would be nice, but we could just do anything to open our hips we can do. Just open them up a little bit, even if we just feel them. And then we can open up our knees and our ankles. I'm going to open up my knees and my ankles sitting down here.
All right.
And as we're doing this, we can feel how with open joints, energy's flowing more freely. I feel less tension.
Yes.
Remembering my feet, my ankles, to rotate them a few times each direction. One thing I notice a lot is our feet, rather than just hanging down, a lot of times they're just a little bit tensed up, and remember to relax that. All right. We've opened up the gates of chi now, and I'm going to take just a couple more breaths, maybe 3 more breaths into the nose, feeling the space here, relaxing my sits bones. Stick my tongue out. Wow, thank you both so much for taking the time to do this and have some space here with me. Thank you so much, Discernment, for putting it all together and starting us out today and having a wonderful guest scheduled. Dr.Marizelle, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Excited to learn more about you and Discernment. I'm going to pass it back over to you in case you have anything that you'd like to ask specifically.
Well, thanks, Doc. I love the Qigong flow every time. I'm glad we start with that. It loosens me up, brings us to center, and I lost all the crap that I had to deal with today at the corporation, at the biotech company.
Good.
Okay, it was wonderful. These people are wonderful. I don't mean to say anything, disparage anyone. All right, Dr. Marizelle, it is fantastic to have you on. Thank you for coming.
My
I
pleasure.
guess I would like you to take a minute to tell us whatever you'd like about yourself. But of course, I will have more specific questions once you do that. So
Okay.
please welcome Dr. Marizelle.
Thank you. Well, I'm a practicing naturopathic doctor. But I practice like a traditional naturopath. And there is a difference between a naturopathic doctor and a naturopath.
Tell
I
us.
Oh, sure. So a naturopathic doctor goes through what's considered a traditional setting of education, right? We go through 4 years of medical school,
Okay.
and then we are now they're doing like 1 or 2 year residencies before you can open up your own practice. It's basically just the way traditional medical school does it. They're doing the same thing. So we go through the 4 year of schooling and have clinicals and all the gamut of anatomy, biology, physiology, microbiology, et cetera, and we learn some of the traditional paradigms wrapped into the regular conventional ideology. So I graduated from that. I actually started in regular medical school for 2 years and hated it. So
Why?
found this. Oh, sorry.
Why?
Hated regular medical school. Oh God, I could go for an hour about how terrible regular medical
We,
school is.
we have lots of time for you anyway. Just so you know, from this point forward, you're the show. So please tell us your story.
So
These are all great questions.
I ask why because I also got educated and didn't wake up, but you woke up way sooner than me.
Well, sadly, I was actually awake before med school, but I figured if I just, barreled through it, somehow I was going to make it to the end, but I couldn't make it to the end.
Good for
So,
you.
there's lots of things wrong with it. I mean, like you're going through classes that are just so apart from the nature of healing, right? So one becomes a doctor to heal. That's what I would assume, right? Back in the 80s, I'm sure it was
To
to make
help people,
money.
yeah.
But I would hope that there are people that would want to help people. But you get in there and already from the gate you're told about how diseases and illnesses in the body are just these parts and these different things, and it's very reductionistic, it's very mechanistic,
Materialistic
exactly.
and compartmentalized, of course.
Absolutely. You have
A
you have
foot doctor, an eye doctor. Yeah.
exactly,
Well,
and
this guy
so
knows about the heart,
yeah, exactly.
but he
So
doesn't.
and so you have all these you learn all these different pathologies. You're given scenarios of if a person has a certain illness, this, that, and the other. And my question was always like bigger when you're given these scenarios, like where did the person grow up, what was their background, what did they eat, where did they live by, what was their ethnicity. Because I was coming from a standpoint, my undergraduate is anthropology. So being that my undergrad was anthropology, I was already coming from the ideology of, culture, and I studied nutritional and medicinal anthropology. I studied how cultures looked at diseases and antique cultures and current cultures. I looked at how cultures looked at medicine and food and their environment and, so many different aspects. And then I'm going into med school with this colorful background and going into this black and white,
Carol, yeah.
zero nuanced, schooling. And where did that fit in? Where did that all that anthropology fit in? And it didn't. And I thought, you
Right.
know what, I'm just going to take that, shelf it, go to med school, become a doctor, and then incorporate the anthropology into my medicine. And I couldn't do it because it was just a fight after fight with teachers and professors. And I would get things wrong on tests because I was always querying, like, but I need more information, and things like that. So I just transferred to naturopathic medical school, hoping, wow, this is going to be so much better. And in a way, it was better to get a more enlightened approach in terms of certain things, but at the end of the day, they both, they both drink from the same trough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Is
um,
that because they basically trying to make a diagnosis, but then treatment is different for a naturopath versus a
yeah. So a naturopathic doctor is diagnosing, which I think is terrible. A naturopathic doctor is basing things on the germ theory, which is terrible. A naturopathic doctor is utilizing the same mentality, even though they'll say, "Oh, I'm getting to the root cause," but it's the same mentality as a regular medical doctor. You're just using nicer things to help
uh-huh.
people. You know what I mean? Like you're
And
going.
technology, right?
Right. So you're going, oh, you have high cholesterol. Like, a patient comes in and their blood work comes in and it's high cholesterol. It's like, okay, as a
When
naturopathic doctor, why does that matter? It's part of the whole body is, needs cholesterol, and cholesterol is just a thing on a piece of paper for blood work.
when they do that test, is it just one test? And so I'm asking about timing. If you do it 3 times a day for 3 weeks, then
Oh,
you have an accurate
you can do
reading,
it
right?
17 times. Yeah. No, I did that experiment already. I did a ton of experiments in naturopathic school because I just didn't believe in, allergy tests and blood work and all
Good
that
for
stuff
you.
because it just didn't make sense to me to be following the same type of, paradigm, but with a green aspect to it. So
Gotcha.
I did my own. I had to do so much more work on myself, on my own outside of school. Weekends going to seminars, reading books, this, that, and another, apart from going to school, because what I was getting wasn't fulfilling my needs to understand how to really help somebody.
That's really rare that you actually were trying to comprehend what's going on instead of just receiving everything and getting your A on the test.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only benefit I have is I have photographic memory, so I did get A on tests.
Wow.
But that wasn't it was, regurgitation.
Wow.
You know what I mean? It was like,
Right, right.
it was I wasn't learning anything.
And
And
you
so
weren't making judgments or discerning through things either.
right, exactly. So I just took it and I took it in. I mean, it was nice to go, "Oh, I know all the names of the bones of the body. I know all the nerves. Great. I went through anatomy and physiology and neuroanatomy and blah blah blah."
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when it was coming to my third year, when we started getting a more intense in terms of like our botanical medicine, our oriental medicine, things like that. I was like, but this is not, we're not looking at the body as a whole. We're looking at parts still. We're treating things. Though one of the paradigms that we had to constantly repeat was we're treating the person, we're treating the person. And I go, so if a person comes in with a headache, how are we treating the person? You are looking at the headache as a thing rather than as a doorway into something else that's going on. But the person's walking away with a homeopathic remedy for their headache, an herb for their headache, maybe a better diet. But we didn't really kind of teach the person what's going on in their body to understand why the headache manifested and what the headache was telling us. So again, I did my own thing. I got certified in iridology, which used to be part of
Ah,
naturopathy.
interesting.
What
Yeah,
is that called again?
iridology. It's the
Spell
study
that,
of
please.
IRIDOLOGY,
Okay. Okay.
iridology. So, just a quick history lesson. Um, so going back to what I said about being practicing like a naturopath versus a naturopathic doctor, even though my training is a naturopathic doctor, um, naturopaths were the first things that were here. So you had what was called Christian Science doctors in this country, in the United States. You had Christian, but we're talking like late 1800s, mid to late 1800s. So you had Christian Science doctors, which is not Scientology. People get confused.
Yeah.
Christian Science, how
Christian
was
Science is
like
great.
Mary Eddy.
Like Mary Eddy, yep.
Mary Baker Eddy, yeah, okay. So you had Christian Science doctors. You had hygienists, which is not a person who cleans your teeth. So natural hygienists.
Yep.
Scientific racists.
Right, exactly. Um,
That's all they are.
yeah. So and then you had the allopathic doctors, right? So allopathic doctors were for a long time. You had eclectic doctors, which were
What's that?
kind of sort of allopathic, but not really, because they kind of used herbs and homeopathy and stuff like that. But they still used a little bit of poison. So they were eclectic, meaning they used a little bit of everything. You had homeopathic doctors, which homeopathic doctors, people, again, that would be a whole other conversation about homeopathy actually uses microdosing of poisons as well. But again, we can have another conversation about that. So you had
I'd
homeopathic,
love to.
yeah, and then you had water curists. So before
Right,
naturopaths,
the hydro people, yeah.
right, exactly. About the mid 1800s, it was presented here from the Germans. They came over here, and you had all sorts of different people using water cure.
The
And
water.
they, oh yes, and what they called water cure, they called nature cure, so it's kind of
Yep, yep.
interchangeable.
What do you
And then,
think of that compared to all the other ones?
oh, I mean, it's the foundation of naturopathy. So for me,
Okay,
using water, using sun, using that type of thing, that's nature. So to me,
beautiful.
I don't have a problem with that. So then you had a couple of people. You had Lindlar, and you had Bernard Shaw. I mean, not Bernard Shaw, Bernard McFadden, and then,
McFadden,
yes, and then you had
don't skip breakfast guy.
yeah, and then you had Benedict Lust. These were all water people. They used Father Neep's water cure and all that stuff, but Benedict Lust wanted to come up with something that really encapsulated using nature. And there was this couple, I forgot the name of the couple. They came up with the term naturopathy, and he understood that pathy means disease, but he wasn't using it in that way. And he specifically says,
Right.
I make naturopathy because it's the way of, right?
Was it Dr.
So
Conger and his wife, maybe?
yeah, I think so. I think so. You're right. And so then in 1902, he trademarked it, and then everybody else couldn't use it, so they used their own, like they said, their own thing.
Yeah, Dr. Conger has a book, 1890s, The
Mhm.
Nature Cure.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that. I
right.
got an original copy of that one.
Yep. Oh, good. Um, you and I
It's
have to chat about original copies because I got a boat ton of them.
oh, wow. They're
Yeah,
so
yeah.
expensive.
um, so then he coined the term, and then naturopathy started, and he created something called the American Naturopathic Association, the ANA. And then he had, newsletters and magazines and all sorts of things.
Yep,
And
all
around,
lost now. Hard to find.
oh, I've got a ton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. In 1925, there was a bunch of naturopaths who decided that antibiotics was actually a good thing to use once in a while in case of emergencies. And Benedict Lewis was like, no, we can't use, we're called drugless therapists on purpose, drugless practitioners on purpose. So you can't use mercury base. You can't use, even though homeopathy sounds pretty, you can't use a homeopathic remedy of mercury. You're doing the same thing. So there was some naturopaths were like, no, we kind of like the kind of usage of stuff. Plus, on top of that, they were getting, shut down by the AMA because the AMA started seeing that they were being
We
effective,
we can
right?
name some names. You can say Flexner, you can say Fishbean, you can say Cockefeller.
Yeah, yeah. so yeah, not to sidetrack, another reason why there was also a kind of a divide is that those same naturopaths who wanted to they wanted recognition, and they wanted to separate themselves from chiropractors who the naturopaths were backing, but the chiropractors weren't backing the naturopaths.
Uh,
So because the chiropractors are also getting nailed by the AMA as well.
yes.
So Benedict Lewis was like, you go do your own thing. So the naturopaths became naturopathic physicians, physician association. And so then they were like, okay, AMA, what would you like us to do so that we can be not in bad with you? Like, so that we can be good with you. Right. And so then the AMA was like, well, you have to set up schools, and you have to have tests, and you have to do this and you have to do that. So
Sell
from that
drugs.
point, right. So from that point on, naturopathic physicians created their medical schools separate from naturopaths.
Okay.
And then they were starting to get backed by money, where naturopaths were starting to get squashed left and right because AMA were like, well, you can't practice without a license and this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And then the chiropractors fell off the wagon because they were supposed to support the naturopaths, but they didn't because they too were like, well, what do we need to do so that you don't bother us, AMA? So naturopaths slowly kind of dissolved by the end of World War II. And naturopathic doctors and physicians kind of stayed kind of strong here and there. Like you can find a couple of oldies. I think they're mostly dead. But that's why you have Bastyr, which was one of the first naturopathic medical schools that was okayed by the AMA. And there was a couple of others here and there, and then everything else closed, and then now they reopened. But I went to one of those schools, and I learned all that history, and I said, well, I don't want anything to do with naturopathic doctors because naturopathic doctors are okay with vaccines. Naturopathic doctors are okay with prescribing pharmacological drugs. Naturopathic doctors are okay with invasive minor surgeries, any major surgeries. Naturopathic doctors are okay with suggesting stints and catheters and all sorts of things. So,
but how did you know? How did you know that stuff didn't work? That stuff didn't really heal people. That stuff didn't help. It only masks symptoms, etc. How did you know? You
want
knew it
the
early
head
on.
answer? Do you want the head answer or do you want the soul answer?
Both.
I want it all.
Both, please.
Okay, so the head answer was I saw people not getting better.
Smart, brilliant.
The soul answer was it didn't feel right.
Beautiful.
It didn't feel right.
You listen to your gut.
Yeah, all the time. It didn't feel right that people were being given. We're naturopathic doctors. Our name has nature in it, and to be given something that's not natural, it irked me every time. My stomach would twinge because I'd just be like, this doesn't make
How
sense.
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
How
it
can
was as
someone-
simple as that. It just made my every time like someone was like, "Oh, you should suggest to your patient," like if like a professor or whatever, they would, "Oh, you suggest to a patient this homeopathic remedy." I'd be like, "Why?" And they'd be like, "Well, this is the, this it calls for this and that and the other." And I'm like, "But why? I don't can we just do something that's like let's see where it goes kind of thing? Like can we talk about like a bath or a compress or
And
maybe
does
like
it address the person's issue in the first place?
right, we're just altering symptoms. That's all we're doing.
Right.
People don't realize that homeopathy is altering symptoms. It's not getting to the cure. You get to the base of which is the cure of you. You cure you. Like nature cures you, you cure you. Like, and homeopathy doesn't get to that, even though people think it does.
Okay.
This is really interesting. So may I dive in a little here?
Good.
Please.
So Dr. Marizelle, so you have a practice and you see people, do you work with people in person or online or both?
Both. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you had mentioned headache earlier. So say if somebody comes to you and they've got a headache, what are some of your prescriptions or things that you kind of go to, or what would you do in that instance? I know it's always more complicated because everyone's different, right? But
yes. Okay. So that's a good follow up with that question. So that's true. It's a little more complicated than that. And on top of that, I have to feel the full array of that person, right? Yeah. They have to tell me what's going on in their life. They have to tell me what they're eating, what they're doing, what they're drinking. If they're taking vitamins from Vitamin Shop, or they are doing certain things, or they are, not doing certain things, it's almost as if I have to live in their world for the time that they're talking to me. I have to feel what they're feeling, I have to.
You're an empath, huh?
Yeah, not in the classical sense. So I'm not an empath. Like I don't feel people's feelings, but I feel their nature. I don't know if that makes a difference. Like if someone's sad, I don't feel sad. I'm more separated than that. I'm more like when a person is asking me for help, I envelop myself in
Interesting.
in who they are. So I'm empathic in that way.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like my husband and I, we kind of play around with, because he's more empathic. Like he can walk into a room and he could sense if someone's upset or not. Like
Nice.
I don't do that, but I can sense when someone's hurting and needs help. So it's a very distinct type of empathy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it's I need to know everything about the person, even subtleties. Like I would ask them questions. It's all about, me observing their body and their mannerisms and looking at their hair and their nails and their skin and their eyes and like just being an observer.
Yes.
And then it's about
Huge.
listen, yeah, and it's about listening to their story, right? Just like a shaman, like a traditional shaman, not the new age shaman we're talking about. Like a traditional shaman, like you were to go to a village. A shaman, the reason why shamans did what they did and they were good at what they did is they were technically the psychologists
Right.
of the clan. They knew the social inner workings of everybody's, they knew the gossip, right?
Mm.
So they worked their magic because they knew the gossip. They knew exactly what needed to be tweaked based off of the emotional and psychological needs of the person. So, being a naturopath is knowing the nature of the person, knowing even the words that come out of the mouth, how they describe things, what they talk about, what they
Mhm.
emphasize on. All that's really, really important for me to understand where this headache could possibly be coming from and what the headache is telling that person and me.
That's really interesting. So, what would be some go-to things that you might recommend somebody to do?
So it depends on the type of headache and it depends on where the headache is coming from. So headaches could be coming from, let's say, liver detox, like the person's liver is just so overwhelmed with having to do all sorts of things. And then there's headaches with tension, right? There's headaches with deficiency. So if there's headaches because of tension, they're grinding their teeth, their jaw hurts, their teeth hurts, stuff like that. They're eating foods that are too hard, they're too much crunchy chewing gum, that type of stuff, or they don't like where they're working, and that can, create a feedback loop of, being nervous and then eating crunchy foods and blah, blah, blah. You could have the headaches because of, you don't even know that the office you're working at is off gassing fumes from the furniture and the things, or
Right.
your husband loves scented candles and,
Right.
like it just totally bothers you. Like it's always how we can go about helping that is really basically understanding where it's from and what where it comes from. So my suggestions are always based off of changing certain behaviors, it adding certain foods that will help nourish the body to alleviate, right? Because if there's a problem, because we're supposed to be adaptable, right? Our bodies are supposed to be adaptable, our minds are supposed to be adaptable. Then again, not everybody's exactly adaptable because
Yeah.
again, we have some of us, if any of you know what human design is, we have different centers that are open and different centers that are fixed. So not everybody can be adaptable in the way that idealistically we would all want to be. But in that regard, we are as humans are somewhat at least adaptable. So when we're given a stimuli that's negative, we are supposed to be our body's supposed to process it and then, excrete it or remove it or whatever it is that what word we want to use. So if we're not doing that, if we don't have a consistent, like a toroidal field flow, right? You don't have this flow,
Wow.
there, there's going to be some sort of static somewhere and we have to address the static, and that could be a nutritional deficiency, it could be a certain food that needs nourishment, or a fat, or an exercise, or being able to sleep on the proper bed, drinking enough water, getting enough minerals. I mean, it's just so many different things.
Yeah. Wow. That was. It's just interesting. You're so multifaceted, so much deeper than an MD. Listen to this. This is amazing. You don't hear MDs talk about anything like this. Wow, it's really nice to hear. What 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 is your view of uh, your recommended nutrition then overall? Obviously, everyone's different, but what would you say people should mostly stay away from?
Mostly say, well, boxes and cans, absolute top of the list, right? And then industrial oils, top of the list.
And so
Um,
that's, yeah, boxes, packages, and cans. But going out to restaurants, what?
that's a tough one. I know everybody loves to, but they use such crappy oils. They use the canola oil or the not even if a restaurant says, "Oh, we use olive oil." I mean, olive oil is diluted by canola oil anyway because of the Italian mafia. Um, then if you're not using that, they're using soybean oil or safflower oil or whatever, because everybody uses that in their mayonnaise, right? We see sunflower and safflower and avocado oil and all sorts of mayonnaise and condiments and things, and our potato chips and whatever. So yeah, it's eating out is tough, but I usually say if you're going to eat out, stick to the basics, right? Have a steak. I mean, and you tell them don't put any oil on the steak, and if they're going to put anything on the steak, put butter. Exactly. Keep it
Where,
simple.
well, you mentioned minerals. How would you, you might find that someone might be, you might come to the root that someone's deficient in minerals and that's causing some issues. Where do you suggest people get minerals from?
Well, it could be the way you do it. You could throw a chunk of salt in your water, which is
Like, to me, that's how
fantastic.
you hydrate.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You could do that. You can put enough salt in your food because people undersalt. People don't realize that they really undersalt. You can enjoy some seafood here and there, seaweed if you get it from a good source. You can. There are some companies that sell like isotonic seawater or
That's right.
hypertonic
That's
seawater
right.
as well. Um,
Yeah,
you
Quinton
know,
water. Yeah.
Yep. So there's different ways to get it. And but most importantly is, I like the same as you, the Celtic sea salt. That's my favorite because
I
it's
like
a
Baja Gold too.
fantastic, and it's a nice full array of different types of minerals. It looks like a wet bag of sand, and I
It's
love it.
it's funny, huh?
Yeah.
It's
So,
wet.
yep. So, I always think for me, I think people undersalt. There's a fear of
I
salting, and
agree.
yeah, and I think, and I
I've
feel
had
like
that fear.
yeah, lots of people have had that fear. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
constantly been instilled. High blood pressure, and retaining of water, and you're gonna get kidney problems, and
Yeah.
you know
And
all that
and
stuff.
have you found that the opposite is true?
Oh,
That
absolutely. I have yet to find someone who puts too much salt, except you can put too much of that table iodized crap
That's
salt,
right.
or
That's
you
right.
eat out a lot to
That's
places
right.
that use a lot of that iodized crap salt, which again, you do too much of one chemical in the body, right? The whole body is just an assortment and array of different, um, you know, minerals, like
Right.
and all sorts of different things. So your body has a balance of, even aluminums in your body, naturally occurring aluminum, naturally occurring fluoride,
Aluminum's,
you know,
yeah.
everything. You are of the earth, right? So
So
everything's in there.
there's
So
some
when you
gold in
start,
us.
yep, sure. If you eat that table salt, you're getting sodium and chloride, right? As far as we know in terms of atoms, if and when atoms exist. So, so if
Nobody's
you get
deficient in that, probably.
probably not, most likely. So if you're getting a lot of sodium and chloride, you're going to kind of offset all these other minerals, and then your body's going to start to be deficient in that to try to compensate for the amount of sodium and chloride you're just getting. And that's why sea salt and again, like the Baja and the Celtic, you're getting a nice array, and your body can go, oh, I like this, and I like this, and I like this, and then I'm going to dump the rest whenever it wants to.
I subscribe to the thought that the body will keep what it needs and pee out what it
Absolutely.
doesn't. So
Absolutely.
to me, you can't have too much salt. You'll just pee it out, or a little too much, you'll have diarrhea. And guess what? Diarrhea is a good thing.
Absolutely,
If you
absolutely. Well,
induce it.
actually, it's a great if you I just had a patient this morning. If you are constipated, one of the age-old remedies was putting a ton of salt in your water,
Exactly.
and
I
that
put
would
some
get
posts
it
on
to
that back
go.
in the day.
And that was an indication that you were actually mineral deficient, because you need a certain amount of minerals to help create a consistency in the mucosa in the large colon. And so if there's not enough minerals, that water retention, that like osmotic hydrostatic pressure is not where it should be, and so your body dries up the stool as it's going through, and then you're going to have a hard time. So
You. And,
salt water is fantastic.
and so this just reminds me, what do they call these things? They call them electrolytes. And so what
That's
does
right.
this have to do with electricity?
Well, if we all know, salt water actually,
It's
is a really
conductive.
good conductor of electricity. So again, our bodies are energetic, and we need those minerals absolutely to create that energy flow. And again, when we have that static that I talked about, those are also indications that those minerals are not flowing or they're imbalanced. And so that static will start containing itself in specific areas.
Yeah, so I see it as these minerals make our blood electroconductive and therefore flow easier because, right, we're always hypothesizing, but it looks like,
Sure.
blood
It's
vessels
it's
are
fun. Yeah.
blood vessels are positive and the things going through them have a negative charge. So you that's how it also flows. And if you're into, Dr. Cowan and the heart is not a pump, that also explains some of that stuff. And of course,
Absolutely.
I don't know if the heart's a pump or not, but it clearly is vortexing.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and so this electricity thing is just it's so difficult for people to understand. Hey, I'm not electric. What are you talking about? But do you also recommend people be in nature and ground, etc.?
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's all a matter of, and I don't even see the word grounding for me is, I feel it the opposite. Like when I walk around on grass, I don't feel like I'm grounding. I feel like I'm lifting.
Yeah, that's
It's bizarre.
interesting.
It is because I have a Steiner background, right? So it's like he talks about how he talks about things that are dead or inanimate, they're brought down, right? And then things that are alive actually grow up, right? And so I
That's
feel
right.
like when I'm in nature, I feel like I'm lifting and rising as opposed to going down. That's why I just don't like the word grounding. Like I know it's not like you're getting grounded, but I feel like
Either way, something seems to be
sure.
flowing.
Yeah. I feel like it, when you're in nature, your field just generates broader and bigger, and you're connecting to the top and the bottom, and just everything it's a nice feeling.
Have you read Dr. G.W. Carey's Salts of Salvation book?
I
Uh,
I think
cell,
that might have been a long time ago.
cell salts, the
Mhm.
zodiac, and the salts of
Yes.
salvation.
I gave one to my sister for Christmas. So yes, I did.
Ooh, recently.
Mhm.
So, do you ever recommend? You know how they make the cell salts? Do you ever?
Cell salts are the only, well, probably of the homeopathy. So the homeopathy that I do use are if they're herbs, right? So I'll use camellia, right? I'll use something that you can eat, that you can consume.
And,
Um,
and what are you using it for?
Homeopathy,
Yeah. What
just in general.
what what do you expect to happen? Do you see what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, I gotcha. I use homeopathy the same way I use an herb. So if I give you, we'll use camellia, right? Which is chamomile. If I give you chamomile tea, you relax, your nervous system relax, you digest, you just relax. I use homeopathy in herbs the same way. So I would give camellia to, let's say, a little kid that I can't get in the chamomile tea. So I'll dissolve a couple pellets of camellia in water, and you can have a child drink the water and it'll do the same thing. So I use it in the same aspect as herbs. The same results in my mind as herbs. Um but the cell salts are great. I mean, cell salts are like left and right. I'm using them. I mean,
But
everybody needs Caliphos, everybody needs Magphos. I mean, the
tell me more.
phosphates, yeah, the phosphates are everybody needs the phosphates. Everybody. I feel like
Interesting.
we're all phosphate deficient.
Do ha- so his that book I just mentioned, the Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation. Do you ask people about when they were born and therefore what cell salts they might need more of?
I don't use it in that way. But their constitution, the way they present themselves,
You
it
can tell
actually
someone's a Taurus or a
yeah,
Scorpio.
yeah. I mean, yeah. You get around people, you stay around people for a while. You kind of figure out, what chakras are open, and where they when they were bornish around.
Interesting.
You kind of get the gist of it.
I'm a triple Pisces.
Oh, I'm a quadruple Scorpio.
Oh my lord! Wow, that is so interesting. I'm gonna go do some reading. And what we're talking about isn't pop astrology. Anyone who's listening, we that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about some more ancient stuff. And of course, you can find a book or two of doctors taking these cell salts,
Mm-hmm.
and basically 3 days later, almost every patient is healed of their scarlet fever,
Mm-hmm.
typhoid, all of these things from the early 1900s, late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading page after page of different doctors treating their patients with this stuff. I was amazed. I was
Oh no,
reading
it's
this like four
fantastic.
years ago, and I just page after page, I'm like, okay, there's something here. There's something to this. They're not making it up. And the thing I always wonder about is, and I ask you, for Doc and me, we want to show people how to heal themselves. You be your own doctor, and it has nothing to do with taking synthetic lab made things to make you better. But obviously, herbs and natural things might help you. Clearly, minerals, not from big pharma or anything like that, from sea
Right.
salts, from good companies making the cell salts, etc., can be good for us. And I just wonder, I'm like, I don't want clients to come back to me.
Right.
I, I want people to go off on their own.
That's the way exactly how I practice. So I mean, I actually literally had a professor in school when I was a fourth year in naturopathic school, and we had to go through some business classes, right? So I remember him saying when I was doing my rounds,
That's right.
he literally said to me, he goes, "So what's your plan?" And I said, "To help people, and they don't come back." He goes, "So
What language
you're
is
not gonna
that?
have people, yeah, you're not gonna, that's kind of a very weak business plan if you're not having anybody come back." I go, "Then how will I be helping people if they're coming back?" And I said, "I'll be fine. I'll be fine." And I'm still fine. I'm probably from my graduating class of 2006, I am probably out of everybody I think 31 people graduated and only about 7 of us are still practicing.
Did you say 2,000 people went through?
No, no, 31. My graduating class was 31. It was a very small
Gotcha.
class. So I think only 7 people are still practicing. And of the 7 people, I'm the only one that doesn't use synthetic vitamins. I don't rely on diagnostic tests. I don't utilize those allergy tests or anything like
Yeah, yeah.
that. Um,
Doc Smith and I totally agree with that stuff. Obviously.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I've been enjoying this. I've been enjoying this interview with you because I've been wondering for a while, like what's going on with the naturopaths. That I
Oh, yeah, no, I actually during 2020, I was writing livid letters left and right about how the Association of American Naturopaths were invited, no, no, sorry. The New York Association of Naturopathic Physicians were inviting people to be contact tracers. That was one. That just I was speechless when I saw that. Then the other one was when they came out with the crap shot. Um, the Association the AAMP, the Association of American Naturopathic Physicians, or whatever their name is, I don't care anymore. Um, they required students to get the shot in order to take their boards.
well,
That
they
sucks.
exposed themselves forever and should never be trusted again. All of
So
them,
to me, I wrote a
all the medical doctors,
3-page. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I wrote a
crazy.
3-page letter telling them that has nothing to do with anything. And I was just so angry, and I was like, you know what, exactly what you said. They exposed themselves for what they were, that
Yep,
they're nothing more than green allopaths.
yep.
And the fact that they required students to get something, and then they were masking in school, and you had to take this, in order to take some of the boards, you had to take the test 72 hours ahead, the PCR poop test. And I mean, it was just, and then there was some naturopathic doctors that were actually, being interviewed by newspaper outlets. And I went to their websites and I would write on, I made comments on their websites talking about how are you supporting this thing that invades your body and you call yourself a naturopathic doctor.
Great.
So yeah, I'm a I'm kind of a lone ranger with a lot of naturopathic doctors. I always have been. I was in school.
Respect.
Right?
You got courage, ma'am.
Well, you know what? It started. I was already second year in my naturopathic school. I didn't believe in the germ theory. Like I had to get it off my chest and say, hey, I don't believe in the germ
Wish
theory. And then
you
I
learned
was
that 20 years
also
ago.
a I was also a rep for a company called Pleomorphic Sanum. So Pleomorphic Sanum was a company that sold products that Gunther Enderlein designed
Ooh.
when he found the protits and how they pleomorph and et cetera, et cetera. So from by my second year of schooling, I was a rep for that company. I was teaching people about pleomorphism, and I was telling people germs don't cause disease. So imagine I'm in a school full of people who believe germs cause disease, and I'm sitting there going, "No, it doesn't," and here are the remedies for it. So believe me, there were arguments. There was lots of
Well,
them.
so they didn't teach about pleomorphism in any school you went to.
No.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about that. Have you ever seen videos of that stuff?
Videos. I've seen it in my own petri dish.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got. Listen, that's how I got into it because I was in microbiome class. First semester, I was in naturopathic school. So I transferred from New York Medical College and I had to take microbiology because I didn't finish it in the other school. So I'm taking my microbiology, and with microbiology, they have lab, right? You have class and then you have to have lab, right?
Oh yeah.
So we had our semester project. Our semester project was at the first couple of weeks we were there, we had to swab an object. And
You
then
even need to, right? If you have a petri dish, just go like that.
I mean, yeah, obviously, right? Be like, "Hey, look." So
So I
so
did it.
we had to I swabbed my cell phone at the time, which in 2003 the cell phone was like this big thing, right? So, I swabbed my cell phone, and what we had to do is we had to take, I think it was 6 different uh, dishes, and
Yeah.
we had to put them in different environments,
Do you mean
right?
like different, like a blood agar plate, a different agar?
Right. So you had 3 blood agar and then 3 regular, and then you had to put 1 in the fridge and 1 in the one that was the heater, right? The one that was like 98 degrees, and then the one that's room temperature. And you basically had to see what was become of your, the different organisms that you would
And then
grow based off of.
identify.
Yeah. So that was your semester project as things, and so then
I know what you mean.
you would isolate an organism in one of the dishes and then put it in another dish and then hone in on that particular organism, et cetera, et cetera. So I had a problem because I honed in on one of my dishes, and every single time I would look, it would be a cocci or it'd be a bacillus. It'd be back and forth, back and forth. And my professor was like, "Your technique is wrong. You're
Of
not doing it
course.
right. You're
Of course.
contaminating your field, right?
Well, at
You're
least he didn't say,
contaminating."
oh, it's just a rod. It's not a bacillus. I mean,
Right. Yeah, rod and circle, rod and circle. So it'd be going like this back and forth, but not in before my eyes. It would be like a day after, it'd be like this, and then the day after, it'd be like this.
yeah,
Like back and forth. So
yeah.
I was like, and then I had 3 times, and then he yelled at me. He goes, "You're really not going to get a good grade because it seems like your technique is all wrong." And so technique means like you're supposed to like take it and do it a certain way to
Oh, yeah.
culture the
Oh,
dish.
yeah.
Right, yeah, and burn it with the Bunsen burner, blah blah
Right.
blah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Good times.
Yeah, good times. So I kept on getting these, back and forth, back and forth. So
So did
finally
everyone
my
else. They just didn't notice it.
right, exactly. So he takes my culture and he's like, okay, he takes it from me and he's like, he does the technique, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he's the professor. I'm all, yeah, right.
Yep. I just say you do it. And I can't wait to hear.
Okay, so it goes into its little shelf, its little spot for a week or
Like,
so.
not even at
Come back,
37 degrees?
yes,
Okay.
and So then he takes it out. So now I had to do all this extra work. I had to come after classes and all this stuff because now I'm like falling behind because I'm not to the next level. So I get the dish, take the sample, put it on a slide, stick it in the microscope, and I'm in there, and it's not even it's like semi-round, and it wants to be round, but it's not round. It's like in the middle of it's changing. You understand?
Did you see movement?
Yeah, there was movement, but it was just like they were like they were doing one of these. They were doing one of these, and he's looking in there like this, and then he's looking at me, and then he's looking at this, and then he's looking at me again, and he's like, now he was Japanese, so to be angry in with a Japanese accent, I was like, I feel like I'm in a movie, right? So he's looking at me and he goes, I don't know. What did you do? I was like, I didn't do anything. I didn't do it. You did it this time.
Wow.
He's like, I don't know. Just write that it's a round one. It's a cockside. It's a cockside. It's a cockside. And maybe, maybe the stain, maybe. And then he kept on turning the slide. And then he did it again. And he put it on the slide and he's like, I don't understand. And I was like, well, initially I thought I found a new organism. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be famous. I found a new organism. But it happened to be, I wasn't thinking that because during that time is when I was introduced to this company, pleomorphic Sana. So I'm sitting there and I'm already in my mind going, because I'm introduced to this and I was like, when you first get introduced to something, you're like, let me think about it. Let me mull it over. Right.
So and was it Steph Aureus or not?
Yeah, right. It was in between. It was a Steph strap. Steph strap.
Steph strap for callus.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I looked at him and I was like, and he was just like, just mark it down, whatever. And I'm just going to give you a B-. I was like, okay, fine. So that to me was the cherry on the icing on the cake. I was like, this is real, right? Dwarfism is real.
He couldn't accept it. So interesting.
And I was so excited because I was like, this is the universe throwing me the definitive, this is it. You found it. So that's when I dove in and I read every book. I studied Enderlein and Gaston.
But before that, you already knew that these protids, somatids, whatever word we want to use, you already saw that they went through stages depending on what they're decomposing, fermenting, what they're breaking down, basically.
Yep. Wow. Yep. Because I was getting I was becoming the rep for Pleo, and they didn't require me to really truly understand it. They just wanted me to sell a product. But I actually
more than they bargained for, huh?
Yeah, I listen. If I tell you the story on how I got the job, it's nobody's like nobody gets a job. No, nobody gets a job with a sweatsuit on.
You have to tell it now.
I got a job with a velour sweatsuit and an unwashed hair with no makeup. Do you understand? I got a job.
Well,
50 minutes.
22,
50 minutes after the interview, literally, the person interviewing me, actually, he was my advisor and he was a good friend of mine. 15 minutes after interviewing me, he literally stops and we start talking about rock climbing. And the another rep that was sitting next to him, because she was taking notes and whatever, she literally was like confused because it was like 50 minutes. We just start chatting. And it was like an hour later after chatting. I was like, so do I have the job? He goes, of course you have the job.
Wow.
I go, what do you mean, of course? We weren't even talking about it. He goes, listen, I'm going to tell you why you got the job. Despite the fact you came in looking like you just woke up, looking like you threw on clothes from yesterday. He goes, you got the job. I go, why did I get the job? He goes, because you came in with a folder that has 300 pages in it. You have highlights on every page, and you literally describe every single organism in the cycle.
Wow.
He goes, nobody's ever done that, ever. Nobody, ever. He goes, the moment I saw that, he goes, the moment you sat down, I was like, I don't know if this girl is taking it serious. But then you opened up the folder, because I thought the folder was from schoolwork. He goes, you opened up the folder and you had highlights, printouts, pictures, drawings, arrows. He goes, you had the job within 3 minutes.
I love it. That's a great story.
Yeah, no, I always tell people, I was like, you want to
So
see a person get a job with a sweatsuit and unwashed hair? I'll tell you
hilarious.
my story.
You, I kind of interrupted you. You started to talk about Enderline a little bit more. Can you tell us a little bit more about his work?
So Enderline, back in the was it the 30s, I think it was, late 20s. He was a zoologist, and
German?
yeah, German guy, Gunther.
Luther.
So he was a zoologist, and he studied, he looked at the blood to study all sorts of different organisms, things like that. And he noticed that they were, again, just like I was noticing, that they were changing form. And they were changing form based on, different environments that they were given. So
Right.
he, with, this specific type of microscope, he was able to see these forms changing, and he determined, that it had some sort of cycle. The only problem with Enderline, as
Yeah.
hopefully the book that I wrote 2 years ago is going to finally get published, hopefully by the end of the summer.
Good luck.
It, yeah. In that book, I talk about how just because you believe in pleomorphism doesn't mean you don't believe in the germ theory. So people can't get confused that Enderline was a germ theorist. Like, he still
That's
believed
right.
you,
That's right.
yeah, he still believed you can get sick because
That's right.
as the organisms cycle through what
We
he
can
called
harm you.
bacteria cyclogeny,
Yeah.
as it cycles through, you become more pathogenic.
Okay. So
Um,
Rife thought that too.
yes, and he even thought he saw viruses, which I don't think he saw viruses.
I
I
don't think
think he just saw the microzyma. Like, I think he saw the
Wait,
microzyma up
cell
close and
debris,
personal.
let's just say, or
Yeah,
vesicles.
yeah. Well, truthfully, if you look up, this is my theory. If you look up the size of a microzyma, like what they suspect it to be,
What
I
they show, yeah.
I think a microzyma is what he saw, and he construed it as a virus, because remember, Rife
So a
at the
cocci?
time. Sorry again?
A cocci?
No, microzyma.
Okay, so tell us.
Okay, so I think when Rife saw viral particles, I think he saw microzymas because they're about the same size. So I think what he was seeing was the microzymas going in and out of cells and signaling to the cells, you're not doing the right thing. Time to apop, time to die, basically.
Do you remember what kind of cells?
Oh, what Rife saw when he saw it?
Or
Um,
Enderline?
well, Enderline was seeing just blood. Like, he was looking at the blood. He
Yeah,
was
so
looking at,
I've seen the red blood cells
yeah, 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 yeah. No, I have the dark field microscope. I
and
do the same
microsoma coming in and out. Are you saying you have a little lab?
thing. I have a micro lab.
Can
Yes.
you say what state you're in?
Sure, New York.
I'm gonna have to come visit you.
Sure, come on over.
I need to see some
Um,
stuff. So I
Absolutely.
was wrong in my thinking. I thought microzymas just described kind of, I don't know. I want to say protids or somatids,
They
not
are. They
all
are.
the
They are.
forms though.
They are.
They're all
But
microzyma.
yeah, so microzyma, you have to understand, there's 3 levels with which they are, right? So there's ones that you can't really see. They're like a speck, right? But
Like a virus.
yeah.
Cute.
But you can actually kind of you can't really see them in a light microscope, but like that you can only see them in the light microscope when they get to their 3rd stage.
Okay.
So Enderline called them symprotid, which is the last stage of the
Okay.
microzyma before it starts to pleomorph into bacteria. So when
Okay.
I looked up Gaston and I looked up Rife and whatever, the size with which they described the microzyma, I was like, oh, that's the same size as the supposed viral particle. And
So
so,
80 to 100 nanometers.
yeah, about. So I was like, wait a second, what if we are misconstruing viral particles or excrement of the cells, and we're seeing snapshots of the actual macrozyma going in and out of cell doing its thing? Again, we can only conclude that. We can only have conjecture on that, because The only time we can see a microzyma is either Rife machine, which go find one, and
Mm-hmm.
an electron microscope, which, I mean, honestly, at the end of the day,
What are
it's
we
a
looking at? Yeah.
garbage it's a garbage machine. Garbage. You're just seeing garbage.
Yeah.
Specifically, again, if you saw the end of COVID, that's all I talk about, of all the chemicals that you put in to prepare a sample for an electron microscope. So at the end of the day, it's a garbage machine. You're not seeing anything but garbage.
That's
So
right.
that's my theory. I think microzymas are misconstrued,
Sure.
viral particles, but it still doesn't feed the idea that there's contagion, because everybody has microzymas and all microzymas pleomorph to bacteria. So everybody has them inside of them.
Yeah.
You start
Yeah.
changing your environment, they pleomorph. End of
So,
discussion.
so this goes back to probably the 1860s in Béchamp. He theorized microzyma, and did he find? Remember, he was chipping chalk and looking in chalk. Did
Mhm.
he find microzyma or
He
bacteria
was
or
able
both?
to No, he found the microzyma and he was able to kind of get them to go and do their thing.
To become bacteria?
Right, because then he concluded, if I'm taking it from chalk that
Right.
is found in like layers and strata, then that means it's something that it can't die. So he assumed it had to be the thing that is the life force inside
Okay.
the body. Um,
So microzyma aren't only in our cells then. Obviously, clearly bacteria
Everywhere.
are everywhere, but
It's
so are
everywhere.
microzyma. Okay.
Yep, microzymas is the everything. Like, again, if my book finally comes out, I call it. There's so many different names because so many different people discovered it
Right.
beyond what
Right.
we know.
What's
Reich.
what's
Oh, Wilhelm Reich. You
yeah.
know who Wilhelm Reich is? Okay.
Say
So
it
remember
again.
how Wilhelm Reich?
Yes.
Okay.
Tell me.
So he discovered bions. Remember orgon energy, all that stuff? So bions, I think, is microzymas.
Okay. I agree. Yep.
You know what I mean? So I mean we can go to different people who have discovered these.
The same thing, pretty much.
Right. And I even, I touch upon a little bit of a trigger ideology. I'm like, think about it, it's like the God particle, if you think about it, because it's in everything. And if you remove it, it dies. You remove
Does it
it.
die though?
The thing that it's in, it doesn't die. But if
Right.
you remove the microzyma from a cell, the cell dies. So that means that life is dependent on it, which
All
makes
right.
it
So
pretty important.
I'm just thinking about cell cultures, and we're able to kill bacteria,
No, we
probably.
don't. We kill bacteria, but are we really killing? Because you can't get a pure. Think about it. Can you really get a pure cell culture?
Of course not. It would be
Okay,
dead without the. I wanted to say microzyma now,
you
but
can say microzyma. I mean, it's the same thing. Microzyma, protid, somatid, bion, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter.
well, it's just interesting, and it's. I always think about how to show people, especially on Twitter, that this bacterium, this salmonella, is pretty much the same thing as what you're saying E. coli is,
Yep.
or what
Yep.
listeria is, or cryptosporidia, or it's they all, depending on the environment, this microzyma, this changes to what we call different bacteria, and so there's only one bacterium.
There's not even one. There's just microzyma.
Okay, there it is.
Microzyma can just change it to anything.
There it is.
You
That's
put you put it in any environment, it'll change into anything you want.
Mind blown.
exactly. Right. Oh, I love it. And furthermore, these things do not harm, cause disease, infect, destroy anything living.
Correct.
Only dead things, necrotic things, plastic,
Right.
oil.
Well,
Right.
they don't destroy. So, in addition to the saying of living, it will break down thing that's living-ish. So if something is dying, it's still living, but it's dying, but we can't see that it's dying, right? See, this is the problem with medical science, right? They see all cells as alive because by fact of it functioning, it's alive. But you and I and everybody else that's watching knows that there's a distinction between optimal alive and alive that's slowly decaying. So microzymas will pleomorph to break this slowly decaying but still alive down. That's where people get confused because they're like,
Okay. It didn't confuse
science,
me, but
right? No, it doesn't. But
we
medical
have
science,
dying tissues and cells in us pretty much at all times.
right?
So therefore,
But tell that to it. See, this is here's an example. I'll give you an example. When you do a blood draw, right? If a person does a blood draw in the doctor's office, and they do the blood draw, it's in the vial.
yeah,
Pretend that there's
it's
no
dying.
right, but pretend there's no anticoagulant, right? You and
Okay.
I both know that after 2 minutes, that's dead.
To me, yeah.
Okay,
It's
but the
dark, it's
scientist,
clumped.
but the scientist who takes that blood still thinks it's alive.
Okay.
Okay, so when a disease, a bacteria shows up in the blood, they think, well, that bacteria, we're watching the bacteria eat the red blood cells on our slide because
Gotcha.
it's there. But that's not truth because you and I both know that the blood is now removed from the body, is now dying, and after 2 minutes, it's dead.
Right. It's not happy. It doesn't have voltage, charge, or all the things we talked about an hour ago. It doesn't
Exactly.
have nutrition, doesn't have these things. It's not happy, and it's
Exactly.
dying. And yet we can be in the lab doing cell cultures and, oh, everything's wonderful and they're living.
Exactly my point. So another example would be like, because I have people always asking me these questions. What about the bacteria, the flesh-eating bacteria?
No such thing.
Right. Exactly. I go, if there was a flesh-eating bacteria, which it's not eating your flesh, there's some sort of contaminant and then it's cleaning up the matter. But let's
Probably.
pretend there is a flesh-eating bacteria. It's eating flesh that has already died.
Right.
It's not alive anymore. And the person be like, what do you mean? My skin, the person when they came in, it was like all eaten up, like MRSA, right? They'll be like, oh, but it's all like eaten away and stuff like, and the bacteria keeps on spreading and spreading. I'm like, because the tissue is dying. Yeah, but how's my tissue dying? It was fine before. It's a
Because your
concept that people
Staph
can't.
aureus is always there and
Right.
doing it every day. It's just that now you have extra skin and it has to, and so you'll see more of them. And now the doctor or whoever can detect it.
Right.
It's
Again,
just about detection,
it's
really.
it's not fathomable to them because to them, if it's alive on your skin, in your body, it's alive. It's not
These are
dying. It's
these are
alive.
huge points, and you can't just put them in a tweet.
Exactly.
I'm always thinking about the 3 sentences, and I'm like,
Mhm,
it doesn't work. And so I feel like I'm just wasting my time.
mhm, mhm.
But this huge point, I've learned a bunch tonight. I, my
Absolutely.
thinking has changed a little bit, but it is unbelievable that it looks like microzyma. Obviously, you can. I don't know, obviously, but it seems like we can kind of kill some bacteria, but you can't kill the microzyma.
I guarantee you, if you were to do an experiment yourself, just again, petri dish, blast it with heat. Do whatever you need to do to kill the bacteria. Throw some antibiotics on it, whatever you want to do. It'll still regrow something.
All right, so I don't mean to ridiculously change subjects, but
It's fine.
I want to go back to, in your education, you were taught to do these things, and there's a reason why, because they looked like they worked. And the reason was because they masked symptoms and someone felt a little better.
Mhm.
What do you theorize is really happening when someone gives you uh, the herb, the allopathic medication, or the homeopathic microdose of a poison? What's happening? Why do people feel better? And so therefore, why do they think all this stuff works?
It's a suppression of symptoms, and it's the body now has to create energy and movement to telling you something's wrong in a different way. And so there's a disassociation with the idea that, oh, my headache went away, but all of a sudden my butt hurt, or or
Gotcha.
I've got inflammation in my knees, or my stomach just started hurting and I can't eat right and I'm bloated, or I have diarrhea now. So it's just the body kind of like, oh, okay, you're making me shut up here, so I'm going to open my mouth somewhere else.
It makes sense to me. And what happens if you do this over decades?
Yo, suppression and constant shifting. I mean, it's exhausting for the body to constantly reshift and tell you something else, something else.
So
And
when
then
you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s,
yeah,
what are you
I mean,
feeling?
what's considered chronic disease is
Exactly.
that's what it is.
You've suppressed. Now you have a tumor because the body needed to put it somewhere. And that's the place to separate from everywhere else so it's not harming. And, then the next thing is they cut the tumor out. And 6 months, 2 years later, you have 6 more. And you're like, wait, what happened? Well, when they cut it out, some stuff
Yeah,
got
but
out.
that whole body is diseased too, though. It's not just that tumor. That whole body.
No doubt. When it comes to metabolic issues. And so
Yeah,
that,
Right.
that's right. We're just kind of theorizing. But again, these things we're saying, these things build up and cause chronic issues after decades. We are pretty resilient. We
Sure.
can take a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at chemo people.
Oof, and some of them survive. And oh, geez. I was looking up the percentages of different chemo. You're diagnosed with lung, pancreas, whatever, the different chemos. And the highest one I saw, I forget what it was, but it was like 4 or 5% success rate. And I'm like, okay, why are you still doing this? We got paid 200 grand to do this for a year. What do you think? And it goes back to your education. The doctor couldn't understand that you're not going to have a business unless you have patients and unless they keep coming back to you. It's
Oh
just,
yeah.
it's so
I
hard.
I literally quoted that from a show I was watching. I flip through different things to entertain myself if I get because I
You
like
can't look at the microscope all day, every day. I know your
yeah,
eyes.
yeah, yeah. So, but I like sometimes play. I'm like one of those people that I can open a book and it'll be exactly what I was looking for in the book. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
I do that with shows. And this show happened to say something like, this nurse was telling this doctor, listen, saints don't practice medicine. It's a business. It's about the money. So, coma patients in hospitals, big money maker.
Oh,
People with degenerative diseases, big money maker. People constantly coming back, big money maker.
autoimmune. We'll try this.
Oh,
We'll try
that's
this.
my
We'll try
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. Oh, and anything immune,
Yeah, and
immune
I
this,
don't.
immune that, together.
I'm pretty sure you guys agree that we're pretty sure that the body does not attack itself. Are we all of a sudden stupid? It's stupid.
Oh,
It's
can you go back to my naturopathic school and tell them that, because apparently that was like a huge thing.
huge. I worked at one of the top biotech companies in Cambridge, Mass, and worked on complement and autoimmune diseases. I was only there a year. I was like, I learned all their pathways, and I was like, okay. And then it was funny because then COVID hit, and I woke
Oh,
up out of it, and I'm looking back, and I'm
perfect.
like, all that crap, all that, wow, we're on the wrong track. And you're like, wait, what do you mean medicine's on the wrong track? And then I'm like, there's more unhealthy people every year. They have to
Oh
build
yeah,
more hospitals. They have more patients. They have more drugs. They have more. What do you mean everything's great and modern medicine is amazing?
yeah.
It becomes obvious, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. Modern medicine's so great. We're sicker than a little village in Africa that sticks to its traditional ways.
So, how do you like to respond to well, without modern medicine, you wouldn't live past 30?
Okay, let's try. Let's see that happen. Let's watch.
And
You
then I
know
said,
what? The only way to respond to it is just to say nothing. It literally
Yeah.
is. I don't know about you, Dr. Marizelle, but like, I'm not even. I might tweet something out sometimes, but I'm not getting in these arguments with people. You know what? If they want to go to those doctors, take those drugs,
Yeah.
that's their karma. There's nothing we can even do. And
Oh,
I don't know
absolutely.
how it is for
still
you,
feel
but
like you want to help them, though, don't you?
I
well, I mean, what is it? We want to help them, but I mean, that's a waste of our energy. I mean, if they're having some kind of attitude or some kind of,
Sure,
whatever it is. I mean,
What do you know? You don't have an MD, Dr. Marizelle.
Oh yeah, no, I got a fake degree. I got so
well,
many of those. I laugh all the time. Anytime somebody says that, I just put 3 laughy faces
You're not a
because at the
medical
end of
doctor.
the
what I
day,
want to know, because
I-
you actually have real people that you help in your real life
right,
that are not on
exactly.
that are not
They
on
for
social
some
media.
reason they can't comprehend that.
So,
no, that's fine.
If Doc
and
is
in
helping people,
reality, how do people find you? They find you in what way?
Me? Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was a rhetorical question. That's
No,
okay.
well, I mean, I'm
Oh,
kind of asking, and I was almost
no,
gonna
that's
answer
good.
it.
No,
I was almost gonna
absolutely.
say they find you by word of mouth, right? Because somebody says, "Hey, this person helped me,"
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
Like,
Exactly.
so
I
all those people can go to hell if they're gonna try to argue about what's going on or what's whatever. Look, if people you help them, that's it. You
you
I-
know,
Obviously, we
you
agree.
absolutely. You sound like my husband because my husband will see some of my tweets or whatever, and
Thanks for
he'll be like,
stopping by.
"They can, yeah, right. They can go to hell. They're stupid. They don't know you." And I'm like, "I don't. That's on them. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
care."
Yeah, exactly. It's good. It's good to not even waste any time in this argument of stuff,
Oh,
because we're
right.
gonna outlive them by double. You know what I mean? So what is the point of
oh
even
yeah,
living
oh
arguing
yeah,
with these people? They're just gonna Howard Stern drop dead. Anybody see that?
I
55
it,
years
it
old.
it was an impersonator, actually.
yeah, yeah,
Is this a joke?
Doc, yeah, it was an
yeah,
Howard Stern impersonator died.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
You're joking, right?
No, you got to look a little closely
He's
once in a
70.
while. The
He's
BS.
actually Howard Stern is actually 70. He was born in 1954.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, the point is,
We wish he did. No.
I'm
I wish no harm on anyone.
people are dropping dead left and right, and they're going to continue to drop dead left and right, and we're going to drop dead one of these days, take our last breath. We don't know what's going on, but we're arguing with people about this stuff. I mean, what the heck? People are going to just not. They're so many of them on Twitter are all trolls, and they it's not even worth our time.
Well,
Not worth
I
my
don't
time.
argue. I don't
Good.
argue.
That's what I'm saying. You know
I
what?
do something worse.
You actually help people.
No, yeah, no, absolutely. I love what I do, absolutely 100%.
We
But
can tell.
technically, when a person engages with me, or I'm entertained by the idea of engaging with somebody who's saying stuff that's just ludicrous,
Yeah.
Right.
I don't argue. I ask the
Right.
simple question that a child would ask.
There
I
you
do
go.
that all the time.
There you
And I
go.
never get angry about it because to me, if I've this there was a saying and I can't remember the saying, but basically something like if you get angry in your argument, in your mind, if you get angry on your side of the
It affects
argument,
you.
it means right, exactly. It holds no truth. So for me, I always ask that when a person says something that's argumentative, or a person is trying to espouse information that I feel, you know what, I really need a person to kind of look at this, and that it may not go anywhere, but it's for others to see
Exactly.
where I'm trying to drive home to. So when someone says something about, like recently, someone said something about like some sort of channel or marker or receptor site on a cell or a virus, whatever. I didn't even care. I'm like, but how do you see it? With what machine? Like, I want them to say it. I want them to say it's made in a computer. It's used with an assay. It's seen in an electron microscope. I want them to say it because I want them to, even if it's a tweak, even if it's a little button in their brain and other people see that, it helps people start kind of recognizing we live in a world of fantasy when it comes to science, because science is stories of what happens between cause and effect.
Stories.
Yeah.
Dr. Marizelle, how much time do you have with us tonight?
I wish I could go on. Now is the end.
Okay. All right, please. We definitely want to have you back, but please
Oh,
tell
I
us.
would love to. You guys are the best. You guys are the best.
Aw.
Can you just tell us where people can find you and anything else you'd like to say? And then please, you may sign off and we'll sign off too.
Sure, sure. It was so lovely. So my website is terraindoctor.com. And you can find me on on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, as DRARCE, so Dr. RC. And you can also follow me on Instagram, which I'm really terrible at because I don't do pictures. Like, it's really hard for me to do pictures, but I try. So you can follow me on that as well. It's DOCARCE, Doc RC, like you, Doc Smith. And then beyond that, like I said, I hope
Real
that my
doctor.
book, yeah, I hope that my book comes out fairly soon. So it's kind of like let's just put it this way: it's got a lot of detail, but it's a pleomorphism and how you can really kind of hone in on your terrain for dummies. That's the best I can do for now.
Where will it be published? Will it be on Amazon?
It's going to be everywhere. So I'm really hoping right now. I'm in talks with a couple of publishers. So there's a big publisher that's hopefully has
Good luck. Best
will.
wishes.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. If not, I'll just self-publish and then it'll be out. So either way, it'll be out by hopefully the end of the summer, and people can start learning a little bit more about pleomorphism.
Beautiful. And so Dr. Marizelle is going to help end some pseudoscience.
Yeah, the stories, and the stories.
All right. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you guys. Thank you. I love you guys. You're the
It was
best.
awesome. So
Bye.
to everyone, love and light. We'll see you next week. Thank you for joining us. And love and light. Doc. Doc, we can't hear you.
You hear me now?
Yeah. What's up?
Okay, perfect. Doc Marizelle, she took off. That's okay. I just wanted to hang on just for a minute. We got our 85 people on here.
We
Thank
do.
you all so much for being here.
Yeah.
Do you have just a minute, my brother?
What's that?
Do you have just a minute?
I do.
Cool. Well, 86 people now. We got 86 people now. So I just got this text of a review for I've been working with people, healingisfree.com, right?
Yeah.
So this comes from one of the people who started working with me a couple months ago, and she writes, "Healing is free sounds too good to be true, but it is true. Doc Smith is for real. He's teaching anyone with the willingness to learn how to work with their own body's natural healing ability. In the last 2 months working with Doc Smith's protocols, I've gotten rid of insomnia, anxiety, neck pain, headaches, brain fog, irritability, and PMS. I've reduced issues with urination and digestion, which were impacting my daily activities and now aren't interrupting my life anymore. I also have a lot more energy and I'm able to handle more than I could before, both work-wise and socially. But the most profound change has been the calm I feel now. I couldn't relax or let go of stress and anxiety before Doc Smith helped me. Now I feel super chill all the time, and I don't need to drink, smoke, take a pill, or eat comfort food to feel that way. I can't tell you how much that has changed the quality of my life. ! I've suffered with stress and anxiety for decades. Doc Smith helped me relax about the whole process of healing. He has a gift for making you feel empowered, optimistic, and soothed, comforted at the same time, all while teaching you a new paradigm that actually heals the root causes of health problems, not just masking symptoms. True healing necessitates some lifestyle or daily habit changes for most of us, and that can be scary or uncomfortable at first. Doc challenges you, but he also helps you give yourself a ton of grace through the process while you adapt to changes that create good health. I'm forever grateful to Doc Smith. Truly an angel on earth." Wow. I was really blessed to read that.
Whew.
Thank you so much for my friend that wrote that. I'm not going to share her name at this moment, but people will see that on the reviews. But wow.
Good work, Doc. Great.
Thank you, brother.
So nice. You're
Really
kicking butt.
Well, I mention it because, we still work together, and each week we talk and get together on a little video and do some movement together. And we're actually going to be doing that together this Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And it's going to be a live stream, so 11 a.m. Eastern time. And anyone who wants to join, it'll be on probably on my YouTube and also the X here. And so basically what we're doing is we're trying to go through a daily movement routine and like keep building our routine of things that we do to make ourselves feel better and reverse a lot of the patterns and stuff that we have. And as we go through a movement routine, we're also doing breath work and, talking and things like that. And so there's the whole emotional, mental, spiritual aspect that goes along with physical. And maybe this, what I just read there kind of brings out how I bring all these things together with the work that I do. So
Doc Smith will make sure you do the horse breath. I love it when you're doing that. Whenever you do it and you're doing the flow, it reminds whoever's with you to keep doing it.
Exactly. That's right. So, thanks everyone for being here. We're up to 90 people. We're about to just sign off. I did just want to read that real quick, just for if anybody here that's watching this is wondering what kind of things, they might want to reach out to me for. Well, hey, it's a pretty broad range of things, really. It's just dis-ease is what we need to understand. So reach out, healingisfree.com, and we'll get together and try to have some more success stories like this. This is beautiful. And discernment, thank you so much for everything you bring to the table, my friend. And what a great conversation we had today with
it was interesting
with Dr.Marizelle. So I'd love to have her on again.
Yes, definitely.
Who do we have on next week, brother? Do we know?
I think I'm trying to get our good friend Jamie A on next week.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So Jamie,
like diving into the whole virology.
That's right, but also he goes over a lot of DNA stuff that is very interesting. He's got some stories to tell about court cases in DNA and has anyone ever checked and seen, hey, how accurate is this stuff? Well, he's got a whopper of a story to tell you when they did go to check what happened with identifying a murder or someone's DNA. But of course, he also has put together at least 50, I think there's 100 now, studies of human transmission or lack of transmission of disease. They've got all these studies where humans could not transmit disease to each other. And this was
that bookmarked.
Yeah, this was done before they made the excuse that, we can't do humans anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They said ethical reasons, excuse.
Right.
What's the real reason? They could not transmit disease from human to human. They did. We only know about 50 or 100 studies. We know there's more, but in our daily lives, we see it.
Yep.
How often every day you're around a sick person and you don't get it. Right? Every day I'm around 10 and I don't get it. And
hey, I have not had symptoms of like a cold or flu or COVID, in like 5 years at least,
Sounds like you need to detox, buddy. I'm just kidding.
That's what I'm saying. It's not because I'll eat. Like this past weekend, I had birthday cake. My partner's sister's birthday was this weekend. We had some birthday cake, and I'm feeling it. But I also know how to go through my daily practice and not,
So you are detoxing, yeah.
Big time. That's the number one detox that we have.
Our breath.
I do this detox breath, and then I don't have to do the other detoxes so much.
Oh,
I also do the other practices. You know what I mean? That's something we almost kind of could have gone down that road with Dr. Marizelle, but I want to let her talk more. But it's interesting because there's so many things we can be doing with our breath and with our body.
That's right. So I'm the same as you. I can't remember the last time I had anything. So I'll get mucus for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. Done.
Yeah.
If I've had 3 headaches in a year, I drank some sea salted water, gone in 2 hours.
Nice.
And that's the only bad symptoms I could think of. I mean, there's other symptoms, but I induce them. For example, diarrhea. I'll induce diarrhea if I go out to eat at a restaurant and know that I have seed oils in me. I'll get it out. So the next morning, 1 liter of sea salt with like 14, 15 grams of sea salt in my water. Diarrhea done, and I feel great. And then I'll eat 3 or 4 hours later. So I always break fast at noon. I intermittent fast for at least 16, if not 18 or 19 hours. I want to give the digestive tract a rest.
That's the way to do. That's the way I do it. I try to wait all the way until about this time of the day before I eat my meal and eat 1 meal.
You're at 1. I'm like trying to lift weights and try to gain 5 or 10 pounds. So that's why I'm eating a little more. But I see doing 1 meal a day as I get older, no doubt. And again, I just want to share that from 5 in the morning when I wake up till noon, I have tons of energy and feel amazing. But then after I eat, if I eat right, I still feel amazing. If I eat wrong, I can feel it. I'm dragging down. My gut is like, it's tough, man. Why did you eat that pizza, man? And all right, okay. So I'm not going to have pizza for 3 months now.
Exactly.
Like happens to me all the time.
Oh, that it will never let you forget. The digestion will mess you up, man. It messed me up for sure. Gotta watch out that cake. I had a couple pieces and I had some big old dollops. But since I've stopped drinking alcohol, which is about 9 months now, I think maybe 8 or 9 months, no alcohol, big difference. Because
like waking up easier.
Well, just generally my body feels better, my mind feels better, like the progress that I'm making.
Clarity.
There's that, but I mean, I'm thinking more of like the progress I'm making in terms of my body, and like I was having a lot of lower back pain, and,
like a year ago.
Yeah, and gone. It was mainly the I think the alcohol effect on my liver, but even though I wasn't drinking that much, just once a week or so is all it takes.
Oh wow. That's nothing.
But hey, brother, cold shower. Is that something that we've talked about enough?
Probably not, but breathing and cold shower.
Okay,
you don't want to shiver and stuff.
Well, here's the thing: is maybe next week, the 92 people that are on here, I'll throw on some shorts, Speedos, and jump in the cold shower and show everybody my routine.
Interesting. Okay.
Because this is the thing that freaking saves me. My 108 breaths, purging breaths, 9 positions, 12 breaths each position in the morning cold shower that I do it basically every day, 30 days a month, every single, I might miss once a month, but man, if I had, like, that's what, I had birthday cake the other night. Next morning, I woke up feeling like a bag of ass.
Yeah.
Cold shower. Oh my goodness. Feeling like amazing afterward, and getting better, like adjustments than a chiropractor can get just by going through the motions with my breath in the cold shower,
Wow. And do you feel cracks?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Really? Without like having to hang or do anything? Wow.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I've done that very often.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is I should record it because you'll probably be able to hear some of the pops. Like, it's awesome.
Interesting. When I hear of someone popping and doing that stuff, my first guess is a little dehydration.
It's not dehydration as much as all the bad eating habits altogether, and the tendons and things they're just a little bit, it's not that they're dehydrated. They may be dehydrated. That might be part of the state that they're in, I think, but it's more like they're overworked, and they're the reserve of energy for the organs, and the organs are overworked. So they're pulling energy from the muscles and tendons. And then the tendon, the tendon that's back here that that releases, and then I hear a pop as my arm then feels better or whatever. That tendon was just a little bit like shortened and tightened from the energy being pulled from it to help the organ to work better
Okay.
while it was doing all that work. That's what I think it is, but it might be dehydration as an overall state too. You know what I mean? That's part of it, but
Yeah.
but those things happen. I mean, if we're if we're doing postural correction, like that's one thing people are like, is that bad that I'm popping or whatever? Or is it like, no, it's not. It's okay. Breathe out, relax your breath, and if you get a little pop or whatever, the point is to get yourself into good posture and expand from the center more and more and more while you stay relaxed. And if there's some pops while you get there, you're shaking out like a dog, whatever, shake them out.
Beautiful, Doc. Yeah, so I was thinking maybe one lucky winner can win a COVID as a joke. I got extra COVID test kits because I had to work at a corporation. And if you didn't get injections, if you didn't take injections, Doc, they made me test once a week. So I have some of these left. I mean, I don't know. Could you get some money on eBay for them? Who knows?
Keep them as a
Bag now.
keep it for posterity, okay? Because
I got 100 of them.
oh, okay. Well, maybe it's too many.
So one lucky thing that was lucky. We didn't for this. You just spit in it. You didn't have to put anything up your nose or anything like that. So all right. So that's why I still have a job.
There's an at-home COVID test that everyone has.
The little plastic thing that makes a line.
No, it's the at-home. You take your finger and you put it up your butt.
Oh, that one.
And then you smell your finger. And if it smells like shit, then you don't have COVID.
You're all set.
But if you can't smell shit, if you can't smell shit,
poop,
then you have COVID. Okay. All right. Hey, we got to let everybody go. It's time to wrap it on up.
All right. So
a great episode of Center for Disease Consideration from Different Angles. Thank you, Discernment, for being my partner.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, brother. That was a great job, Dr.Marizelle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Love to have her back. And anyone else who's interested in joining, please reach out through all the channels. You know what to do.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, chi is greater than food, and food is greater than medicine, and healing is free when we have discernment.
With Doc Smith. Beautiful,
right.
Doc. Thank you.
All right.
Love and light. We'll see you next
Love
week. Another guest next week. It's going to be great. You're going to love it.
Sounds good. See you.